Now, there's a moment many parents experience when they begin teaching their child to read. You've done everything you were told to do. You've practiced letter sounds. Your child knows them. You point to the letters one at a time. And then you wait. Now, you can almost see the effort happening. Their body language says it all. They say the sounds correctly. And then, nothing. The word never comes together. Or worse, they guess. And that's usually the moment parents start wondering, why is this so hard? Now, if they know the sounds, shouldn't reading just happen? Now, if you've had that experience, I want to reassure you right away. Nothing has gone wrong, and your child is not behind. In fact, what you're seeing is one of the most misunderstood stages in early reading development. Now, today, I want to explain why blending feels surprisingly difficult, even for intelligent children who already know their letter sounds. Because once you understand what's really happening, teaching reading becomes much calmer for both of you. Now, many reading instructions make blending sound simple. Learn sounds, put sounds together, read words. It sounds logical, almost mechanical, but blending is not a memory task. It's not simply recalling information. Blending is actually a coordination skill, and coordination skills are always harder than they appear from the outside. Now think about learning to ride a bicycle. A child may understand we pedal, we steer, we balance, but knowing these parts separately does not mean riding suddenly works. Reading operates in a very similar way. Now your child may know k, a, t, but blending requires something entirely different. The brain must hold sounds in memory while simultaneously merging them into a single spoken unit. Now that's a heavy cognitive load for a beginner reader. When your child looks at a word, several things must happen almost instantaneously. First, they recognize the letter. Then they retrieve the sound. Then they hold that sound in working memory. Then they retrieve the next sound. Now, here's the crucial part. They must keep the first sound active long enough to connect it with the next. Young brains are still developing this ability. So, what happens next? Well, they say the first sound, but it disappears from memory before the second sound arrives. So instead of hearing k, a, ka, they hear isolated fragments. And that's why children often restart repeatedly, or pause midway, or abandon blending altogether. Not because they don't understand, but because their brain is working at full capacity. This surprises many parents. Children who are verbally strong and very bright often struggle noticeably with blending at first. Why? Because they're used to success. When blending feels effortful, they instinctively search for shortcuts, and guessing becomes that shortcut. They look at pictures, they predict from context, they recall familiar stories. From the child's perspective, guessing is efficient problem solving. But true reading requires staying inside the sound process, even when it feels slow. And that slowness can feel uncomfortable, especially for capable children. Now, there's another layer parents rarely hear about. Speech itself is not made of clean, separate sounds. When we speak naturally, sounds flow together. Our mouths prepare the next sound before finishing the current one. This is called co-articulation. So when adults demonstrate blending slowly, the k, a, t, k, at, cat, we're actually processing language in an unusual way. Children must learn to transform separated sounds back into natural speech. That translation takes practice, and more practice. Now here's the part I care deeply about as a teacher. Blending difficulty often becomes emotional before parents realize it. Children notice hesitation. They sense expectation. They feel pressure, even gentle pressure. And once anxiety appears, working memory decreases even further. The brain shifts from learning mode to protection mode. So progress slows again, which reinforces the belief that something is wrong. But nothing is wrong. Your child is simply learning one of the most complex coordination tasks they've ever attempted. The solution is rarely more drilling. Instead, slow the process down. Model smooth blending yourself. Let your child hear sounds flowing together rather than chopped apart. Unless you want them to develop a stutter, never repeat the sounds either. Like k, 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 a, t, t, t. And celebrate effort rather than speed. Every micro win must be called out specifically and praised. Instead of the standard, good job, you can opt for, you blended the word dog. How does that feel? Now, you can't rush fluency. It comes from repeated, successful experiences where blending eventually feels easier. And it will feel easier. Almost every confident reader passes through this exact stage. There's usually a quiet moment, not dramatic, when blending suddenly improves. A child begins reading small words without stopping between sounds. Parents often describe it as, it just clicked. But it didn't just click suddenly. Nothing happened overnight. The brain had been practicing coordination all along. You were building invisible progress. So if blending feels harder than expected right now, please remember, knowing sounds is only the beginning. Blending is where reading truly begins to form. And difficulty here is not a warning sign. It's evidence of real learning taking place. Now, if you'd like help understanding exactly where your child currently sits in their reading development, I've created a free reading assessment that walks you through this step by step. It's super easy, and you can find it linked below. As always, go gently, go slowly, and by all means, my courageous friend, enjoy the process. Because confident readers are not rushed into existence, they are built calmly, one success at a time. Stay wonderful, and I'll see you in the next video.